Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Wit, Wisdom, and Wine, WWW with Daryl Ann. As always, really happy to see you on this Sunday night. And as you can see, I'm still sitting in front of the fire, which means it's still a little chilly out there. We keep waiting and waiting, but spring is coming, it's just not quite yet. But I'm really happy to be back with you. And I'm really happy to see that so many of you are enjoying this and subscribing to my YouTube channel, which is wonderful. And if you are not yet and keep on enjoying my stories, subscribe, and we'll just be really, really happy to be having you tune in to my crazy, crazy stories. Right. So I wanted to bring you up to date a little bit where we left off. We were talking about the stories about Keith Hellman, my second husband. And I can't tell you how many times, and I'm probably repeating myself here, how many times people have said, how could you have fallen for that? How could you have? But remember, there are people who are actually in the term, or the term is psychopath, um, who can really con you and can really make you believe them. They're sociopath is actually what I meant to say. Really make you believe them. Incredibly believable. All the things that he told me before we were married, the things he was going to do after we were married, and the things we could do with the kids, and all of these promises, plus all those tall tales about the cowboy and the mountain lion and the car racing. Hey, I believed it. Why not? But here we are, rolling along with this marriage that was getting more and more difficult. I told you about the temper tantrums and about the treatment of my kids that I did not agree with and wasn't happy about. And so time was marching on, and I was getting more and more angry, and he was as well. But my sisters and I talked about it, and we knew we had to find the right time, the right way to slowly maybe ease him out of the house. Actually, the house was in my name legally. So that was the first good thing. But I wanted to just step aside for a second to tell you something about him and in the sense of fairness. In the sense of fairness, there was one, no, there were a couple of good things, but one really important thing that he did for me was he encouraged me to start my own business. And he supported me in that emotionally and physically in some ways to start my own business. And I really want to tell you all about that because that happened during my marriage to him and certainly well after. But that's a story in and of itself, another crazy story for another time, which I'll be really happy to tell you about those adventures. So that was a positive thing that I did get a lot of good feedback and support from him during those years. But it wasn't enough, okay? It just wasn't enough. Um, and remember, nowadays you can live together, as long as you want, and then eventually get married or not, because marriage means legal stuff to have to go through, okay? So it gets a little stickier when you're thinking in terms of a divorce. So about 2 years had gone by, and I was, more and more disappointed, angry, upset, and frankly, sometimes a little scared. So of him. So we had to find the right time and the right way. One day, we had a situation where he was really yelling at the kids a lot. And I was kind of waiting for that day when I really got my Irish up. And the kids were outside playing at that point, and I said to him, okay, we have to have a talk. He sort of knew what was coming, but not really. I said, I just don't think, Keith, that this is working out. But I had to approach it in terms of caring more about him than about me because he was extremely narcissistic. And so it had to be about him. And I said, I really just don't think as time goes on, you're happy. You seem to be more and more unhappy. You had told me that you didn't really want to get involved with anybody with kids. And boom, you did. And look what happened. You really don't have the patience and tolerance. And I just think you're being, see you being more unhappy. And, frankly, I am too. And he was a little taken aback, but sort of agreed that, yeah, maybe this is not, happy land here. So I said, yeah, I've been kind of thinking about it. And I think the best thing we can do is to think about a trial separation. Only a trial separation. Now, mind you, I had other ideas. Where we kind of take a break. We see each other, you see the kids, but maybe just, if you found maybe just an apartment close by where you could just, conduct your business from there. Sometimes it's a little hectic here, when you're trying to work on business, and it'll give you a quiet break and maybe be able to see your kids a little more in the process, and we could all just take a deep breath and see how we feel about that. Well, he didn't really think, no, well, no, maybe we could just go away for a trip. And I said, no, we've done that. It's usually you and I because of your possessiveness with me. So, no, I want you to really think hard about this. And he kind of, you know, left the room in a huff. So I started then really seriously looking for apartments. And my sisters would call me and say, hey, we found this apartment close by. It's pretty cheap. And I have to take, excuse me, another sip of my dark horse Chardonnay. Okay, good. And so one night I found the perfect apartment in the paper. So what I did was I left the paper on the dining room table and I put a real big red circle around it with an arrow. That's all I did. And he came home, walked over, looked at the paper and said, well, I guess this is it. You're actually circling apartments for me? And I said, look, this one looks great. Remember, it's only a trial separation. There's just short-term rentals. Okay, so I called the apartment and I was told that in order for a married couple, now this is way back in the day, to rent an apartment where just one of the marital partners were living and the other not living, you had to come in for an interview. You had to prove that you were upstanding people and that there wasn't going to be a problem, anything violent. And I said, oh, of course. So I said, come on, let's just make the appointment. We'll just check it out. So we did. We went and we had a very rigorous interview with the manager of this apartment complex. Well, what's going on? Are you friendly? Oh, yeah, of course we're friendly. Everything's fine. This is just a trial. We're going to be seeing each other all the time. No. And, really, it's on the up and up. Okay, you can have the apartment. So he actually agreed to rent this apartment for 6 months, all the while knowing in his mind that he was coming back. Okay. So the day came when he started to move some stuff out. Okay. It was like controlled excitement, like this is it, right? And I had told the kids that we were going to have a trial separation. I didn't want to go into that much detail, with the kids about the future. And so came the day, small little van pulled up, his stuff, some of it, not all, but some of his stuff went. And I went with him. I drove up behind him and got him all settled in and said, okay, we'll just talk later. I drove home from that apartment with such exhilaration. It was like, yes, I did it. Got home, called my sisters, yes. So the kids were a little ambivalent. They were a little bit fearful. Hey, what's going to happen now? After all, they had certainly been through their changes. Okay, that night he called. I don't think this is working out. I'm lonely. Oh, no. Just, you'll be fine. You'll have work tomorrow. It'll be fine. Okay. So, honest to God truth. The first day he called me 8 times. Okay, 8 times. And for that entire first week, I remember I made a note of it 8 times a day. Well, I don't know about this, and how are you doing? And no, good, good. Let's just wait a little time go by. Let me tell you, I was a nervous wreck for those first few months. But then he sort of did settle in, okay, and started to realize, hey, life ain't so bad. No kids around, huh? Okay, right? However, he was determined that this was 6 months and he was coming back. Okay, Keith, let's just let it play out. Let it play out. So during those months, it was tough. I would look out the window and his car would be there. Oh, I want to come in. Okay, come on in for a few minutes. I'm back and forth. And the phone calls, okay? Calling me at work and calling me when I was in the process of starting up and running this business of mine. So it was tough. It was tough on the kids. It was really tough. But we knew that there was an end in sight. Okay? We knew that. Time went along, and he started to realize that this might be it. At the end of 6 months, at the end of 5 months, he had to renew his lease. And he said, I guess I'm coming back. And I said, no, you're never coming back. You're never coming back. We're getting a divorce. What? Divorce? Yep, we're getting a divorce. So I filed for divorce, and it was a no-fault divorce in the state of New Jersey. You had to wait 18 months. And during that 18 months, of course, he never did move back. And we proceeded on to live a different kind of a life, certainly a different kind of a life. There were adjustments. There were some problems. I mean, let's face it, he was the handyman of the world who could do anything. So that was tough, but it was exhilarating knowing no more temper tantrums, no more possessiveness, no more jealousy. If I even looked at another man or talked to another man, there was intense jealousy. And I just kind of felt like the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders. And my sisters, believe me, felt the same way. We were all extremely relieved. So it went along where he still didn't give up and told everybody we were getting back together again. And then finally the day came. And I will just never forget the exhilaration and the happiness. Happiness that, of course, I had experienced before, married to my first husband, having my kids. But this felt like literally floating off the ground. He did not show up at the courthouse for the divorce. I, of course, did. And it went smoothly and quickly. And I remember walking out of the courthouse feeling like I was actually floating on air, just like I'm sure some of you have experienced that when you've gone through difficult things, and then all of a sudden something works and something's great, and you think, hey, life is worth living. This is happiness. And intense relief. That was it. All strings gone. I didn't care what he did, because during that time of separation, of course, he was dating other women, which I didn't give a crap about. So I was free of him, and it was wonderful. It was really great. So you see, there is a way. There is a way. I know that I think we all know that sometimes marriages don't work. Okay, and sometimes there's a very friendly breakup. People stay friendly after, and some is not so good. Some is pretty bad. Okay, some of the things that happen, and so I would say, in my word of wisdom now about going through a divorce, that you have to approach it very carefully, very gingerly, know what you're dealing with, pick the right time, have your ducks in a row. Have your ducks in a row. I have a friend who was thinking about it and thinking about it for a couple of years, and boy, did she have her ducks in that row. Suitcase was packed. All contingencies were taken care of. She knew how she was going to do it, and the day came when she knew that was the day, but she was ready, okay? Her kids were ready. Everything was in place. So you have to think about, if you have kids, think about them, think about how to do it safely, and the right way. So don't be too hasty unless you have to be hasty. Don't be too hasty. And know in your heart, that you're doing the right thing. If you're wishy-washy and you're kind of like, oh, I don't know, that's a different story. That's hard. But when you know that this is the right thing to do, you have the courage of your convictions. And there's nothing stronger than the courage of your convictions, believe me. So we started a new life without Keith. We proceeded on that life without Keith. And plenty of other incredible things happened to me after that, certainly. One of them was during that time where I had my own business and grew it and had some wonderful experiences. I called my business The Paper Works, and I'll explain what that means in my next talk with you, and how that all evolved, and how I had such wonderful support from my friends, and how it really, really, really worked out so well. So I want to say happy day to you. Hope your life is going well. Subscribe, and I can keep you going for a long time with these stories while I, of course, sip my Chardonnay. And maybe while you're watching me, you're having a little wine or maybe a Cosmo or something. It's really, it's a nice thing. Hold on 1 second. Okay, good. That's great. So, to my friends, to my family, to everybody I love to share it with you, all these stories, and love to hear some of your stories too. So just remember, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Okay, everyone, take care. Bye-bye.